Dealing with an anxiety crisis is an overwhelming experience, something that defies logic and conventional advice. Imagine you're in the middle of an ordinary day, surrounded by people, perhaps at work, in a meeting, or in a casual gathering with friends. Everything seems normal until suddenly, without warning, an unsettling sensation sets in. Your heart begins to race, your breathing becomes shallow, and your entire body feels on high alert. In a matter of seconds, your mind is flooded with a wave of frantic thoughts, and the feeling of panic becomes nearly uncontrollable. It's as if you're being pulled into a whirlpool, unable to stay afloat. For those who experience this, the situation is intensely real, and the pain and fear are immense. Dealing with an anxiety crisis requires a combination of patience, self-awareness, and specific techniques that, over time, can transform the way you handle these moments. Anxiety crises are not merely common nervousness. For many, this experience represents a breaking point, as if something in the body and mind locks up, completely losing control. It's important to understand that, while panic itself is a real and frightening sensation, it's not actually dangerous. However, the intensity of the moment can make it seem like something terrible is about to happen, creating a cycle of fear and discomfort that only amplifies the anguish. This is one of the reasons why it's so difficult to handle an anxiety crisis rationally. And understanding what's really happening is an essential first step in reducing the intensity of these episodes. So, what happens when an anxiety crisis begins? Imagine that anxiety is like a natural defense system that has been misinterpreted. In prehistoric times, our ancestors lived under constant physical threats, and anxiety was a reaction that helped them survive these dangers. If they spotted a predator, for example, their bodies would release hormones that prepared them to fight or flee quickly. This is called the fight or flight response, and it prepared us to react to immediate threats. Today, the situations that trigger this reaction are different. It could be a work meeting, a financial difficulty, or even abstract worries about the future. Yet, the body reacts the same way, as if it were in danger. This explains why an anxiety crisis can feel so intense, even though the danger isn't real. Recognizing the early signs of a crisis is one of the most helpful practices you can develop. The body usually sends clear signals that something is wrong. It may start with chest pressure, palpitations, faster breathing, sweaty hands, or a sudden heat wave. These physical sensations are warning signs that the body sends when it's entering an extreme anxiety state. Sometimes, we ignore these signs, trying to carry on with our activities, but learning to identify these symptoms early on allows you to intervene more effectively. Pausing and paying attention to what you're feeling can be the key to preventing a small wave of anxiety from turning into an uncontrollable storm. Proper breathing is one of the most powerful yet underestimated methods for dealing with an anxiety crisis. During a crisis, breathing tends to become short and rapid, something known as hyperventilation. This breathing pattern leads to a drop in carbon dioxide levels in the blood, which only worsens the sense of panic. The secret is to try to slow down your breathing, focusing on longer, controlled inhales and exhales. A helpful exercise is the 4-4-4 breathing. Inhale, counting to 4, hold your breath for another 4, and then exhale, again counting to 4. Repeating this practice can help stabilize the nervous system, reducing the intensity of the crisis. This conscious breathing signals to the brain that it can exit the alert state, bringing a sense of calm that, even if temporary, allows you to regain control. Beyond breathing, internal dialogue is a crucial tool for managing a crisis. When we're in an anxiety crisis, our mind often generates automatic negative thoughts like, something terrible is going to happen, or I can't get out of this. These thoughts are caused by the activation of the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing intense emotions, which, when triggered, generates a series of negative ideas. Learning to deal with these thoughts involves recognizing them for what they are, just thoughts. They don't reflect reality. A helpful technique is to try observing these thoughts as if they were clouds passing through the sky. Instead of fighting them, allow them to come and go, remembering that a crisis is, above all, a temporary moment. Seeking emotional support is another essential point. Often, We carry the weight of anxiety in silence, out of fear of judgment or shame. However, sharing what we're feeling with someone we trust can relieve a significant part of that burden. The support of friends and family, or even support groups, creates a safe space where you can express your concerns without fear. In more intense cases, seeking professional help is essential. Psychologists and psychiatrists are trained to provide specific tools for dealing with anxiety, helping to understand the origin of the symptoms and creating personalized strategies for each case. Therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, are particularly effective as they teach you to restructure your thoughts and respond more healthily to situations that trigger crises. Taking care of your body is another often overlooked but crucial factor in managing anxiety. Regular physical activity has extremely positive effects on mental health. Exercise, especially aerobic exercise, helps release endorphins and serotonin, substances that promote well-being and reduce stress levels. Additionally, exercise acts as an outlet, providing a mental break and reducing physical tension. Outdoor walks, yoga, and stretching exercises are recommended for those with anxiety, as they not only relieve the body, but also help regulate breathing and promote a state of relaxation. Sleep and diet also play a fundamental role in managing anxiety. Lack of sleep and an unbalanced diet can intensify anxiety symptoms. Try to establish a healthy sleep routine, keeping regular hours, and creating a conducive sleep environment. Avoid using electronic devices before bed, as the blue light emitted by these devices interferes with melatonin production, the sleep hormone. Regarding diet, avoid excessive caffeine and alcohol, as these substances can worsen anxiety symptoms. Opt for nutrient-rich foods that promote well-being, like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins. The practice of acceptance and self-compassion is another powerful skill for facing an anxiety crisis. Often, the suffering during a crisis is intensified by resisting what we're feeling. When we try to fight anxiety, it seems to intensify. Instead of resisting, try accepting that this difficult moment is part of your experience and that it will pass. Don't judge yourself for feeling anxious. It's a natural response to a stressful situation. Instead of criticizing yourself, treat yourself with the same kindness you would show a friend going through a difficult situation. Acceptance reduces the feeling of guilt and helps us develop a healthier relationship with our own feelings. Mindfulness and meditation are also effective tools for managing anxiety crises. These practices involve being present in the moment, observing what happens without judgment. Many anxiety crises are associated with worries about the future or memories of the past. Mindfulness helps us focus on the present, reducing the impact of thoughts that take us out of that state. During a crisis, try paying attention to something around you. The texture of an object, the ambient sound, the feel of the floor under your feet. Connecting with the present can reduce the intensity of anxious thoughts and bring a sense of stability. Dealing with anxiety crises is a gradual process that requires practice, patience, and perseverance. It's not about eliminating anxiety, but learning to live with it in a healthy way. Instead of fighting anxiety, embrace the challenge of better understanding its origins and developing mechanisms to face it. When well managed, anxiety can even become an ally, alerting us to what really matters and helping us grow emotionally. Seeking professional help is a step that should be seriously considered. Psychologists and psychiatrists are equipped to guide people in this process of self-discovery and in developing specific strategies for dealing with anxiety. Appropriate treatment may include therapy and, in some cases, medication, which helps balance levels of substances in the brain related to well-being. Far from being a sign of weakness, seeking help is an act of courage and self-compassion, and it can transform your relationship with anxiety in a positive way. Finally, remember that facing an anxiety crisis is a journey of learning and self-awareness. Each experience contributes to a better understanding of your own emotions and ways to deal with them. It's a challenging journey, but also an enriching one. Anxiety is just a part of life, and you are much more than your moments of panic. With each crisis you overcome, you strengthen your resilience and move closer to a life where anxiety is no longer a barrier, but an opportunity for self-discovery.